Somebody in this room, somebody listening to me right now, you've been feeling the shaking, the shifting, the stirring in your spirit. You've been sensing that something is coming, but you couldn't explain it.
Hear me!
God is not confusing you. He is preparing you. What you've been fighting wasn't punishment. It was Pasaitai-O-N-N-G. Your moment has come, chosen one. The same God who brought you through the valley is about to reveal what's ahead of you. Listen to me, beloved. When God places his hand on a person, he doesn't ask for permission. He doesn't take a vote. He doesn't wait for your enemies to be comfortable, nor does he wait for your family to understand it. When God decides to elevate you, he starts showing you things before anybody else sees them. That's why you've been uncomfortable. That's why you feel disconnected from certain people. That's why your spirit has been restless, because God is showing you what's ahead. There is a divine unveiling happening in your life. God is pulling back the curtain on your purpose. You're not walking blind, you're walking guided. You're not walking empty, you're walking chosen. And today, I came to declare over your life, your moment has finally come. So get ready, get ready, get ready, because God is about to push you into the next dimension of your destiny. God reveals things early to the chosen because the chosen are wired differently, built differently, and processed differently. When God marks you, he also awakens you. It's not something you choose. It's something that chooses you. And many of you have felt that tug in your spirit long before you had the language to describe it. Something deep inside you whispered, there's more. There's something coming. There's a shift ahead. And even when people around you couldn't understand why, you saw possibilities in deserts, opportunities in storms, and promises in the middle of pressure. It was because God was revealing things to you ahead of time. See, when you're chosen, you don't walk by the rhythm of the world. You walk by the rhythm of revelation. God starts dropping previews of tomorrow into your spirit today. And that's why you've often felt out of place, not because you're strange, but because you're ahead in vision, ahead in discernment, ahead in understanding, ahead in spiritual sensitivity. You were seeing things people weren't ready to see, hearing things people weren't ready to hear, dreaming of things people weren't ready to believe. That's the divine signature of someone God is preparing for something greater. Before God moves you, he shows you. Before God elevates you, he whispers to you. Before God manifests something in your life, he plants it first in your spirit. That's why you've had ideas that scared you. That's why you've had dreams that didn't match your environment. That's why you've had sudden clarity about situations that others were still confused about. God was revealing what's ahead because your assignment requires foresight. Your calling requires spiritual maturity. Your destiny requires vision beyond your current conditions. And let me tell you something, revelation is the reward of those who are set apart. God doesn't show secrets to everyone. He reveals them to the ones he trusts, to the ones who stayed faithful in the dark, to the ones who didn't walk away when it got hard, to the ones who prayed even when they didn't feel like praying, to the ones who held on when everything in them wanted to give up. Revelation is God's way of saying, I see you, I chose you, and I'm preparing you. But revelation also brings responsibility. When God shows you what's ahead, he expects you to walk differently. You can't live like everybody else because you don't see like everybody else. You can't move like everybody else because you don't know what they know. You know what God has shown you. That's why some of you feel this urgency in your spirit. You don't know exactly why, but you feel like something is shifting, something is tightening, something is aligning. That's because God is whispering instructions in the quiet places of your soul. He's giving you a glimpse of the next chapter. Some of you have been sensing the end of certain seasons long before the season actually ended. You felt the disconnect before the breakup happened. You sensed the change before the transition came. You discerned the shift before the opportunity arrived. That's not coincidence. That's revelation. That's what happens when the hand of God is on your life. He doesn't let you walk into anything blind. Even when you don't know all the details, He gives you enough insight to prepare your spirit. And yes, it's true, being shown things early can feel heavy. It can feel isolating. It can feel lonely. Because while you're seeing tomorrow, the people around you are still stuck in yesterday. While you're trying to prepare, they're still trying to play. While you're building, they're still doubting. But here, the weight of revelation is proof of your calling. Gives the deepest glimpses to the strongest shoulders. If he showed it to you, it's because he trusts you with it. Think about Joseph. God showed him dreams long before he was mature enough, strong enough, or positioned enough to handle them. But the revelation was the sign. The preview was the confirmation that even though the journey would be painful, the promise was inevitable. What God reveals early, he fulfills eventually. And some of you are in that same place. God has been showing you your future, but your present doesn't match it yet. God has been showing you victory. You're still surrounded by battles. God has been showing you abundance, but you're still walking through seasons of lack. God has been showing you influence, but you're still hidden in obscurity. That's not contradiction. That's preparation. God reveals the end before he processes the middle. So don't dismiss what he's been showing you. Don't ignore the nudges. Don't silence the visions. Don't shrink the dreams. What you're sensing is real. What you're seeing is divine. What you're feeling is confirmation. God is showing you what's ahead because the time is coming sooner than you think. When everything he whispered will become everything you walk in. You are not crazy. You are not imagining it. You are not overthinking. You are chosen, and the chosen always see before they step. Your eyes are not playing tricks on you. Your spirit is not confused. God is revealing. God is preparing. God is aligning. And if he's showing it to you now, it's because you're getting close, very close, closer than you've ever been. God reveals things early to the chosen because the chosen are about to walk into what has already been spoken. Preparation always comes before promotion. Many people don't understand that the weight of what God is calling you to requires a level of development that comfort cannot produce. Preparation is not pretty. Preparation is not glamorous. Preparation is not Instagrammable. Preparation is often lonely, hidden, and misunderstood. It is essential because God will never place a divine assignment into unprepared hands. The very pressure you've been trying to escape is the same pressure God is using to shape you, strengthen you, and stretch you for what's ahead. When God is preparing you, he doesn't start with your circumstances. He starts with your character. He starts dealing with your heart. He starts trimming what cannot go with you. He starts exposing what you don't want to see, not to shame you, but to shape you. Because the truth is, sometimes you pray for elevation while holding on to habits that cannot survive in the next level. And God loves you too much to answer a prayer that your character isn't ready to carry. So he puts you through a process that feels uncomfortable, unfamiliar, and inconvenient, but it's for your good. It's preparation. And you know you're in preparation when God starts closing doors you thought should open. You know you're in preparation when people start falling away without explanation. You know you're in preparation when plans you thought were solid suddenly crumble. Because God isn't breaking you. He's building you. He's stripping away the things that would sabotage your blessing. He's removing the people who would contaminate your calling. He's shutting down paths that would lead you away from purpose. Preparation protects you from misalignment and premature elevation. Preparation is the furnace where God refines your spirit. It's the gym where your faith grows stronger. It's the classroom where patience is developed, humility is cultivated, and resilience is born. You cannot sprint into your destiny without first being conditioned by the process. You cannot skip the break-in and expect to carry the blessing. Before David ever held a crown, he held a sling. Before Moses ever stood before Pharaoh, he stood alone in the wilderness. Before Joseph ever entered the palace, he entered a prison. God always prepares his chosen ones through seasons that don't look like the promise, so that when they finally step into the promise, they have the strength to sustain it. And that's where many of you are right now. You're in a season that doesn't match what God told you. You're doing work that feels beneath your calling. You're fighting battles that feel unnecessary. You're experiencing warfare that feels unfair. Hear this, nothing you are facing is wasted. God doesn't waste pain. God doesn't waste struggle. God doesn't waste delay. Every tear you cried, every disappointment you endured, every closed door you encountered, it is all part of your preparation. God is developing qualities in you that the next level demands. You're learning discipline. You're learning emotional control. You're learning how to pray with authority. You're learning how to trust God when you can't see the outcome. You're learning how to forgive people who weren't sorry. You're learning how to be strong in the spirit even when you feel weak in the flesh. This is the training ground of greatness, and though it feels heavy, it is making you ready. The pressure is not punishment. It is proof that you are carrying something powerful. If your calling was small, the warfare would be small. If your destiny was ordinary, care enough, the attacks would be ordinary. But because your purpose is weighty, the preparation is weighty. God is stretching you so you won't break under the blessing. He is strengthening you so you won't crumble under the calling. He is maturing you so you won't sabotage your own miracle. Preparation is not God saying, no, it's God saying, not yet. You're too valuable to release before you're ready. Sometimes the preparation phase feels endless. Sometimes you ask God, how much longer? Sometimes you feel like you've been waiting for years for something to shift. But remember this, the longer the preparation, the greater the assignment. You are not delayed. You are being developed. You are not forgotten. You are being fortified. Very thing you are praying for requires the very process you are resisting. God is not ignoring you. He is investing in you. When you finally step into your promotion, you will look back and realize that every valley strengthened your legs for the mountain. Every storm taught you how to stand firm. Every heartbreak taught you what real loyalty looks like. Every betrayal sharpened your discernment. Every setback taught you the strategies you needed for the season you're about to walk into. The process didn't break you. It built you. God is preparing you because the place He is taking you to is too great for an unprepared version of you. He is shaping you because the blessing you are about to hold is too heavy for weak hands. He is refining you because the next chapter requires a version of you that doesn't run from pressure but grows through it. So don't despise the preparation. Don't rush the process. Don't curse what God is using to prepare you. Your promotion is coming not because you pushed for it, because you were processed for it. And when God decides that your season has shifted, nothing and no one will be able to stop what He has already ordained. Preparation always comes before promotion, and you are being prepared for something greater than you can imagine. Your process is proof that your promise is near. When God is getting ready to elevate you, He starts with separation. Not separation as punishment, but separation as protection. Separation as refinement. Separation as alignment. And this is one of the hardest parts of the journey because human nature craves connection, comfort, and familiarity. But God knows that where He is taking you, not everyone can follow. He knows that your next chapter cannot be built on the same foundation as your last one. So He begins to gently, and sometimes abruptly, pull you away from people, patterns, and places that are hindering your destiny. You feel it long before you understand it. You sense the shift before you can explain it. You start noticing that conversations you used to enjoy now drain you. Places you used to fit no longer feel comfortable. People you used to depend on no longer show up the same way. It's not that something is wrong with them. It's that something is changing in you. God is separating you from anything that will stunt your growth, dilute your anointing, or contaminate your calling. And separation doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle. People stop calling as often. Invitations stop coming. The circle that once surrounded you begins to shrink. Relationships you thought were permanent start showing cracks. You find yourself drifting from what used to feel familiar, and suddenly you're standing in a space that feels both lonely and sacred at the same time. That space is divine separation, the wilderness where God rewrites your identity and redefines your direction. Separation is uncomfortable because it interrupts your comfort zone. It confronts your attachments. It challenges your dependency on people instead of God. It exposes relationships that were seasonal, not lifelong, and because you're human, you may try to hold on. You may try to force connections that God is removing. You may feel the urge to fix what God is finishing. But hear this clearly, whatever God separates you from, He is saving you from. You may not see it now, but separation is God's mercy in disguise. Sometimes He separates you because your heart is too loyal to people who are not loyal to your purpose. Sometimes He separates you because certain friendships are expired, and if He let you keep them, they would drain the very strength you need for the next season. Sometimes He separates you because certain voices were influencing you more than His voice. And sometimes He separates you because He heard conversations you didn't, saw motives you couldn't, and discerned intentions you missed. God sees what you don't see. He hears what you don't hear, and He knows what you don't know. So when He moves people out of your life, He is not being cruel. He is being strategic. You are praying for elevation, and He is answering that prayer by pruning your environment. Because elevation requires isolation, not forever, but for a season. God isolates you so He can speak to you without interference. He isolates you so you can hear Him clearly. He isolates you so He can shape you without distraction. Some of the greatest transformations in the Bible happened in isolation. Moses in the wilderness, Joseph in the prison, Elijah at the brook, Jesus in the desert. Separation is part of the divine process. But separation doesn't just involve people. It also involves your mindset. God may separate you from old thought patterns that kept you small, from negative self-talk that sabotaged your confidence, from fears that kept you paralyzed, from habits that hurt your spiritual growth. Sometimes the separation is internal long before it becomes external. God starts shifting your desires. You no longer crave what you used to crave. You no longer enjoy what you used to enjoy. He is detoxing your spirit from anything that kept you from becoming who you were designed to be. This phase can feel like a holy disruption. Everything feels unfamiliar. You feel like you're in between, no longer where you were, but not yet where you're going. In that space, the enemy whispers lies. You're alone. You're rejected. You're forgotten. But the truth is the opposite. You are being chosen, positioned, protected. The very fact that you feel separated is proof that God is preparing to elevate you. If you were meant to stay where you were, He wouldn't be pulling you out. And here's the beauty: once God completes the separation, He brings divine connections. People who match your calling. People who speak life into your spirit. People who challenge you, sharpen you, and help you grow. People who don't compete with your anointing, but celebrate it. People who pray for you, stand with you, and understand the weight of your assignment. You cannot receive the new connections until God removes the draining ones. Sometimes God has to empty your circle before He enlarges it. He has to separate you from who you were so He can introduce you to who you are becoming. And the moment you stop fighting the separation, you step into supernatural acceleration. What felt like loss becomes gain. What felt like loneliness becomes intimacy with God. What felt like rejection becomes redirection. You may be in that separation season right now. The phone isn't ringing. The room feels quiet. The circle feels smaller. But lift your head and take heart. God is not distancing you. He is developing you. He is clearing the noise so you can hear your next instruction. He is removing liabilities so you can step into destiny without being weighed down. He is preparing you to rise without the wrong people pulling you back. Separation is not the end. It is the beginning. It is the doorway to elevation. And you are walking through that door right now. God is separating you because He's getting ready to elevate you into a place you've never been, with clarity you've never known, and purpose you've never imagined. This is not abandonment. This is alignment. Everything God separates you from is making room for everything He is about to bring into your life. Your pain was training for your purpose, and many people do not realize that the very thing they begged God to take away was the same thing God was using to equip them. Pain has a strange assignment in the life of the chosen. It enters uninvited. It lingers longer than you want, pushes you into places you never planned to go. But pain is not your enemy. Pain is your teacher. Pain is the tool God uses to strengthen the parts of you that comfort could never reach. You cannot carry a great purpose with untested strength. And so God, in His wisdom, allows pain to shape you, refine you, and prepare you for the weight of your calling. There are certain lessons you only learn through heartbreak, certain wisdom you only gain through battles, certain resilience you only develop through affliction. Every tear you cried was watering the soil of your destiny. Every night you stayed awake was strengthening your spirit. Every moment you felt abandoned was actually a moment where God was anchoring you to Him. Because purpose requires a kind of strength that comfort does not produce. Purpose requires endurance, depth, humility, spiritual authority, qualities forged in the furnace of pain. You have to understand that pain is often the signal that you are being promoted in the spirit. The enemy does not attack what is empty. He attacks what carries value. If your pain has been intense, it is because your assignment is intense. If your struggle has been deep, it is because your purpose is deep. God is not punishing you. He is preparing you. He is molding you into someone who can walk into destiny without breaking under the pressure. He is training you through adversity so that when the blessing arrives, you will have the spiritual muscle to sustain it. Think back on your life. Things that wounded you most also taught you the most. The people who betrayed you taught you discernment. The rejection that crushed you taught you direction. The disappointments that humbled you taught you dependence on God. The battles that wore you down taught you how to fight spiritually. Pain sharpened your vision. Pain deepened your prayer life. Pain revealed the real from the fake. Pain grew you in ways you didn't know you needed to grow. It may have felt destructive. It was actually constructive, building you into someone God could trust. Sometimes pain comes to break what needs breaking. It breaks ego, breaks stubbornness. It breaks unhealthy attachments. It breaks idols you didn't know you had. It breaks your reliance on people and forces you to rely on God. Because as long as you are leaning on the wrong things, you cannot stand fully on your calling. Pain removes your crutches so you can walk on purpose with strength. It is the divine chiseling that shapes you into the person you were born to become. And pain doesn't just shape your strength, it shapes your compassion. Purpose is not just about what you do, it's about who you become for others. Pain softens your heart so you can minister to people with understanding. It teaches you how to speak life to the broken because you know what brokenness feels like. It teaches you how to comfort others because you remember the loneliness of your own midnight hour. People who have never suffered rarely know how to pour into others with depth, but those who have walked through fire carry a warmth, a wisdom, and an authenticity that cannot be faked. Pain makes your purpose relational, not just functional. There were seasons where you cried out, God, why me? But one day you will look back and say, God, thank you, because without that pain, I wouldn't have known my strength. Without that struggle, I wouldn't have known my calling. Without that suffering, I wouldn't have stepped into the version of myself that was born for greatness. Pain pushed you out of places you would have never left on your own. Pain ended relationships that were damaging your destiny. Pain closed doors you were too loyal to walk away from. Pain was God's way of saying, you can't stay here, there's more for you. And even when pain felt like abandonment, God was closer than ever. He watched every tear. He counted every sigh. He held every broken piece you thought you lost. God does not waste any part of your suffering. He gathers it all and uses it to prepare you for your assignment. Nothing you've been through is meaningless. Every scar is a story. Every wound is a weapon. Every struggle is a strategy. What you thought was breaking you was actually building you. And this is why the enemy fought you so hard. He saw what your pain was producing. He saw how strong you were becoming. He saw how spiritual you were growing. He saw how unshakable your faith was turning. He knew that if you ever realized how powerful you were after what you survived, you would become unstoppable. Pain didn't destroy you. It revealed you. It showed you who you really are, resilient, chosen, anointed, equipped. You may not have understood the purpose behind your pain, but God did. He used it to strip away what was temporary and anchor you to what is eternal. He used it to turn your wounds into wisdom and your valleys into victory. The very pain that tried to bury you became the soil where your purpose grew roots. And now, because of what you survived, you carry an authority, an endurance, and a strength that nothing and no one can take from you. Your pain was not punishment, it was preparation. It's training for the purpose God is awakening inside you. And when you step into what He has prepared, you will realize that every painful moment was necessary for the greatness waiting ahead. The enemy attacks what he fears. Many of you have been living under heavy spiritual warfare without understanding the real reason behind it. You thought something was wrong with you. You thought you were being punished. You thought God was ignoring you. But the truth is far more powerful. The enemy has been attacking you because he sees something in you that you haven't fully seen in yourself. He sees your potential. He sees your anointing. He sees the mark of God on your life. He sees the direction you're headed, and it terrifies him. The enemy doesn't waste resources on what is empty. He doesn't attack what has no value. He doesn't go after people with no destiny. The very intensity of your warfare is the proof of your importance in the spirit realm. If the enemy has been coming at you from every angle, it's because he's trying to stop something God has placed inside you. Something powerful, something unstoppable, something anointed. You are not under attack because you are weak. You are under attack because you are chosen. And understand this, the enemy sees things spiritually before they manifest physically. He saw your rise before you saw it. He sensed your breakthrough before you felt it. He recognized your calling long before you recognized it. The moment God ordained your purpose, the enemy marked you as a threat, not because of who you were at the time, but because of who you were destined to become. He saw a warrior in the making. He saw a leader being shaped. He saw a voice that would break chains. He saw a calling that would shake his kingdom. And because he fears your future, he has been fighting your present. That's why you battled confusion so early in life. That's why you were targeted with rejection, insecurity, abandonment, and pain. Not because you were weak, because the enemy was trying to damage you before you discovered who you really are. He tried to break your spirit, hoping you would never rise. He tried to crush your confidence, hoping you would never stand. He tried to sabotage your identity, hoping you would never step into the authority God placed inside you. But here you are, still standing, still fighting, still growing. And if the enemy couldn't stop you then, he can't stop you now. The attacks were never about your past. They were about your future. The enemy doesn't fear what you've been. He fears what you're becoming. He fears the anointing you carry. He fears the influence you will walk in. He fears the impact you will make. He fears the freedom you will bring others into. He fears the generational curses you will break. He fears the cycles you will end. And so he throws everything he can at you, hoping you'll quit, hoping you'll doubt, hoping you'll settle for less than God's best. But here's what the enemy consistently underestimates. Every attack made you stronger. Every lie sent you closer to God. Every betrayal taught you discernment. Every setback increased your resilience. Every storm deepened your spiritual maturity. Every battle turned into training. The very thing the enemy used to break you ended up shaping you. He meant it for evil, but God used it for good. While the enemy was trying to destroy you, God was developing you. Some of you don't even realize how powerful you are because you've been fighting for so long. But look at what you survived. Look at what didn't kill you. Look at what tried to crush you but failed. Look at the depression that didn't take you out. Look at the anxiety that didn't silence you. Look at the heartbreak that didn't harden your heart. Look at the spiritual attacks that didn't destroy your faith. You are stronger than your battles. You are wiser because of the pain. You are more rooted because of the storm. That is what the enemy fears, not your past, but your unstoppable resilience. The enemy fears your awakening. He fears the day you finally see yourself the way God sees you. He fears the moment you stop living small. He fears you breaking free from fear, from doubt, from insecurity, from people pleasing. He fears the version of you that stands boldly in your calling. And that is exactly the version God is awakening right now. That is why the attacks intensified, because you are getting close to purpose, close to breakthrough, close to clarity, close to transformation. If the enemy could have stopped you, he would have done it already. The fact that you're still here is the loudest statement of your destiny. You are not easy to break. You are not quick to fold. You are not fragile. You have endured more than most people know. And every time you got knocked down, something inside you got back up. That strength is not natural. It is spiritual. It is God's hand on your life, and that is what the enemy fears most. He fears a believer who has survived hell and still praises God. He fears a warrior who has been wounded but refuses to quit. He fears a chosen one who keeps rising despite every attack. He fears someone who has discovered that God is greater than any storm. The fear of the enemy is your confirmation you are called, you are chosen, you are powerful, and you are on the brink of something extraordinary. The next time you feel the weight of spiritual warfare, remember this: it is not a sign that God has left you. It is a sign that the enemy fears you. He fears your purpose. He fears your destiny. He fears your awakening. And he knows with everything in him that once you step into what God has prepared, nothing in hell will be able to stop you. You are under attack because you are carrying something powerful, something sacred, something heaven sent. The enemy fears you because heaven backs you. When God is taking you into a higher level of destiny, he shifts you into a season that requires obedience, not approval. This is one of the most defining transitions in the life of a chosen one. It's when God starts pulling you away from the voices, opinions, expectations of people, and brings you into a place where his voice becomes the only compass you can follow. Because where he is taking you, the validation of people cannot sustain you. Their applause cannot strengthen you. Their approval cannot guide you. Only obedience can. This is the season where God starts telling you to do things that don't make sense to anyone else, and sometimes not even to you. He tells you to walk away from places that once felt familiar. He tells you to step into assignments you feel unqualified for. He tells you to make sacrifices that others do not understand. He tells you to move when they expect you to stay, and to stay when they expect you to move. This is not a season of pleasing people. It is a season of pleasing God, and obedience becomes the proof of your trust. When God is elevating you, he detaches you from the need for approval, because approval is dangerous to destiny. Approval ties you to expectations that are too small for your calling. Approval keeps you confined to limits set by people who cannot see your future. Approval chains you to environments God is trying to free you from. Approval convinces you to shrink in order to be accepted. But purpose demands expansion, not shrinking. It demands courage, not consensus. It demands obedience even when you stand alone. Some of you have been wrestling in your heart because God is requiring something from you that doesn't align with the opinions of those around you. Maybe family doesn't understand the direction you're moving in. Maybe friends are questioning your decisions. Maybe coworkers think you're unrealistic. Maybe people are calling you crazy for believing what God told you. But when God shifts you into a new spiritual rank, he no longer allows you to depend on the approval of people. He is teaching you to walk by faith, not by consensus. Obedience often looks foolish before it looks fruitful. Noah looked foolish building an ark when there wasn't a cloud in the sky. Abraham looked foolish walking away from everything familiar to follow a God he couldn't see. Moses looked foolish standing before Pharaoh with nothing but a staff. David looked foolish facing a giant with a slingshot. Peter looked foolish stepping out of a boat in the middle of a storm. But every act of obedience positioned them for breakthrough, destiny, and divine intervention. What looks foolish to people makes perfect sense to heaven. In this season, God is elevating your ears before he elevates your life. He is sharpening your ability to hear him. He is strengthening your courage to obey him. He is teaching you to trust the whisper of the Spirit more than the noise of the crowd. He is building a faith in you that does not bend based on comfort or convenience. Because the next level requires radical obedience, obedience that does not wait for understanding, agreement, or approval. You might feel the tension of this season right now. You might sense God pulling you in a direction that conflicts with what others expect of you. You might feel torn between what God is telling you and what people think you should do. But when destiny calls, obedience becomes non-negotiable. When God is leading, you cannot allow opinions to mislead you. When purpose is pulling you forward, you cannot let approval hold you back. This is where many people get stuck between obedience and approval. Approval is easier. Approval feels safer. Approval doesn't require sacrifice. Approval doesn't require faith. But approval cannot open the doors that obedience unlocks. Approval cannot shift you into the season God prepared for you. Approval cannot birth the greatness inside you. Only obedience can, and obedience doesn't just move you. It transforms you. It develops spiritual discipline. It builds trust in God's direction. It strengthens your spiritual identity. It teaches you how to walk in purpose even when the path is unclear. Every act of obedience is a step deeper into your destiny. Every act of obedience breaks another chain of people pleasing. Every act of obedience moves you further away from fear and closer to faith. You may lose people in this season, but you will never lose God. You may lose approval, but you will gain clarity. You may lose comfort, but you will gain purpose. And what God has for you will require a version of you that is brave enough to obey Him without needing applause. Some people won't understand your obedience because they were never given your instructions. God didn't show them what He showed you. God didn't speak to them what He spoke to you. God didn't reveal to them the vision He placed in your spirit. Expecting people to approve what God told you privately is setting yourself up for disappointment. Your assignment wasn't given in a conference room. It was given in a prayer room, and it can only be fulfilled through obedience. This is your separation season from the need for validation. God is disconnecting you from voices that would distract you, slow you down, or plant doubt in your heart. He is breaking the grip of approval so you can step boldly into destiny. Because the next chapter of your life will not open with applause. It will open with obedience. You don't need them to understand. I challenge you to love enough and to agree. You don't need them to validate what God has already confirmed. All you need is the courage to obey. Your obedience is the key. And when you choose obedience over approval, you unlock a level of destiny, blessing, and spiritual authority that nothing and no one can stop. This is your season to obey God boldly, fearlessly, and without hesitation. Your destiny demands it. Your purpose requires it. And heaven is waiting for your yes. What you lost was making room for what's coming. And this is one of the deepest truths that chosen ones must learn on their journey with God. Loss is never easy. It hits your heart, shakes your emotions, and challenges your understanding. Whether it's the loss of people, opportunities, relationships, jobs, dreams, or seasons you thought would last forever, loss can feel like a heavy blow. It can make you question God's plan, doubt your worth, or wonder if you did something wrong. But hear this, with your spirit, loss is not always a sign of failure. Sometimes it is a sign of transition. It is God clearing space for something greater. There are things you prayed for that never came to pass because God knew they were too small for who you would become. There are people who walked away because they could not walk with you into the next dimension of your destiny. There are doors that shut because they were leading you off the path God designed. There are opportunities that slip through your fingers because God knew they would limit you, drain you, or distract you from your calling. What you lost was not a punishment. It was preparation. Loss creates space, and space is necessary for God to fill you with what is aligned for your future. Sometimes you cannot see what He is doing because all you can feel is the emptiness left behind. But emptiness is not your end. It is your beginning. It is the void that God uses as a canvas. It is the clearing where God builds something new. It is the space where divine alignment can finally take root. Think about how overflow works. A cup that is already full cannot receive anything more. A heart that is crowded with the wrong attachments cannot receive the right ones. A life cluttered with distractions cannot embrace a God-sized calling. So God allows loss not to break, but to prepare you. He removes what cannot go with you so He can give you what must go with you. He clears out the temporary so He can release the eternal. He uproots what is dying so He can plant what is destined to flourish. Some of the people who left your life were not bad people. They were just not assigned to your future. Their chapter in your story was complete, and holding on to them would have kept you stuck in a season God was trying to move you out of. Sometimes loyalty can become a form of self-sabotage. You can love someone and still outgrow their role in your life. And when the season ends, God will remove them to protect the destiny He placed inside you. Let's be honest. Some of the losses hurt deeply. You cried, you questioned, you felt abandoned. You couldn't understand why something you valued suddenly fell apart. But later, when clarity began to rise, you realized that if God had allowed it to stay, it would have drained your spirit, delayed your purpose, or destroyed your peace. What looked like loss was really God's protection. What felt like rejection was divine redirection. What seemed like an ending was actually a holy beginning. Loss also forces growth. If everything stayed the same, you would never stretch. You would never evolve. You would never rise to the level of strength and maturity God destined. Sometimes loss is the push that moves you into new territory. It stretches your faith. It humbles your heart. It teaches you resilience. It makes you depend on God in ways you never had to before. It forces you to rebuild your identity, not on people, positions, or possessions, but on God alone. Here's the beautiful part. God never takes without intending to give more. He never removes without planning to restore. He never ends something unless He is preparing something better. But better doesn't always come immediately. There is often a season between what you lost and what's coming, and that season can feel confusing. It is the in-between space where God works on you, heals you, strengthens you, and prepares you for the next blessing. During that in-between season, the enemy whispers lies. He tells you you'll never recover. He tells you you'll never find something better. He tells you God has forgotten you. He tells you the loss was your fault. The enemy is terrified of what's coming next. He knows that what God is preparing for you is greater than what was taken from you. He knows that your future carries more glory than your past. He knows that what is ahead of you is far more powerful than what you had to leave behind. What you lost is not gone. It has been transformed into space. Space for new relationships, space for new opportunities, space for new strength. Space for new beginnings, space for blessings you couldn't have carried before. Emptiness you feel now is the evidence that God is preparing to fill your life with something extraordinary. And when God fills that space, He doesn't just replace, He upgrades, He multiplies, He restores beyond recognition. What He gives will not look like what you lost. It will be better, stronger, richer, deeper, and more aligned with your destiny. The new season He is preparing will make you grateful for the old season that had to end. The blessings He is bringing will make sense of the tears you cried. The purpose He is unfolding will make you say, now I understand why that had to leave. What you lost was never the end. It was the clearing, the pruning, the preparation. God was making room, not taking something away. And when what He has prepared finally arrives, you will look back and say, it was worth it. Every loss made room for this moment. God is moving you from survival to strategy, and this shift is one of the clearest signs that you're entering a new level of purpose. Survival is reactive. Strategy is intentional. Survival is about making it through the day. Strategy is about preparing for your future. Survival keeps you running on adrenaline. Strategy positions you to walk in alignment. Survival drains you. Strategy develops you. And when God begins shifting you from one to the other, everything in your life begins to change. From the way you think, to the way you pray, to the way you move. For a long time, you've been in survival mode. You've been trying to hold everything together with your bare hands. You've been fighting battles you didn't choose, carrying responsibilities you didn't ask for, and enduring situations you didn't see coming. You've been living day to day, trying to stay afloat, trying to keep your heart strong, trying to protect your peace. You've been waking up tired, pushing through stress, and praying just to make it through another moment. Survival mode is intense. It forces you to focus on what's right in front of you. It teaches you how to endure storms, how to resist the enemy, how to cling to God in dark seasons. It builds resilience, strength, depth, and perseverance. While survival has served you for a season, it is not meant to be your home. Survival is a temporary place, not a permanent identity. There comes a moment when God says, enough. You learned what you needed to learn here. Now it's time to move into strategy. That's where you are now. Strategy means God is giving you clarity. He is giving you instructions. He is giving you insight. He is giving you direction. He is showing you how to move, when to move and where to move. Strategy means God is no longer just protecting you. He is positioning you. He's not just helping you survive the attack. He's teaching you how to win the battle. He's giving you wisdom that elevates you beyond your circumstances. He's releasing ideas, visions, plans that carry the blueprint of your future. When God shifts you from survival to strategy, your mindset changes first. You stop thinking like a victim and start thinking like a victor. You stop reacting out of fear and start responding with faith. You stop asking, how will I get through this? And start asking, Lord, what are you showing me through this? You stop trying to just cope with life. You begin stepping into the version of you that is capable of shaping life. In survival mode, you ask for relief. In strategy mode, you ask for wisdom. In survival mode, you fight with whatever you have. In strategy mode, you fight with divine precision. You begin praying differently, moving differently, and seeing differently. You stop trying to fix everything and start discerning what is even meant to be fixed. You stop trying to control outcomes and start seeking God's purpose in the process. In this new season, God is not asking you to run. He's asking you to align. He's asking you to fight blindly. He's asking you to listen closely. He is giving you strategic insight on relationships, finances, timing, decisions, and the environments you belong in. He's showing you which doors to walk through and which ones to ignore. He's highlighting people who are assigned to your destiny and revealing those who cannot go with you. Strategy is your upgrade. Strategy is your elevation. Strategy is God turning your pain into purpose and your lessons into leadership. Think of Joseph. For years, he lived in survival mode, betrayed by brothers, falsely accused, thrown into prison. Everything was about endurance. But when his season shifted, God gave him strategy. He went from interpreting dreams to managing nations. He went from suffering to stewarding. He went from surviving injustice to governing Egypt with divine strategy. God didn't just deliver him. He positioned him. The same God who positioned Joseph is positioning you. Think of David running for his life, hiding in caves, surviving attacks from Saul. That was survival mode. But once God shifted him into strategy, he became a king who led with wisdom, strength, and divine insight. Everything changed when God changed the season. Your season is changing too. The confusion is lifting. The chaos is clearing. The frantic energy is settling. You're beginning to feel something new in your spirit, a calm confidence, a sharper clarity, a deeper understanding. That is God transitioning you. You're no longer being chased, you're being chosen. You're no longer being attacked from all sides. You're being elevated into new territory. Strategy means God is preparing you for opportunities you once weren't ready for. He's giving you the mindset to sustain the blessings that are coming. He's preparing you to build, to grow, to steward, to lead. You are not just going to survive your calling. You are going to walk in it with authority. You will begin to make decisions that align with destiny, not desperation. You will begin to step out of cycles and step into structure. You will begin to replace fear with focus. You will begin to replace worry with wisdom. You will begin to replace chaos with clarity, because God is shifting you into a season where you are not reacting to life. You are building a future. The pressure you felt was survival. The clarity you feel now is strategy. And when God gives you strategy, the enemy loses control, because strategy reveals purpose. Strategy reveals direction. Strategy reveals identity. You are entering a season where you will stop surviving and start thriving. You will stop guessing and start knowing. You will stop fighting blindly and start moving intentionally. God is leading you with strategy, preparing you for what's ahead, positioning you to step into your divine assignment with strength, wisdom, and unstoppable purpose. This is your shift. This is your turning point. God is moving you from survival to strategy. And what's coming next will require the version of you He is shaping right now.